So Dead by Daylight just got the biggest news of the entire year for 2025 so far, announcing the Quality of Life Initiative 2025, which is apparently Phase 1, and who knows what Phase 2 is. This might just be one of the most exciting moments to play DBD right now if you are a long-standing player or someone coming in and you've already noticed a few issues. They have this roadmap that I'll be putting on screen that I'll be going over live with, probably fading in between this and the background footage every so often, but this is where we get a little bit of an overview of what initially is coming. A little bit of an overview is going to be from April to June, which is going to be before Anniversary hits the game. We're getting an anti-slugging surrender option, gamma settings, a go next prevention system, hiding and body blocking prevention, spawn rules and map offering balancing, improved AFK bots, as well as bulk blood point spending, new quest system, more perk presets, and the ability to preview people's perks in lobby. Then, on the later half of the year, which is going to be more FNAF or like after Anniversary and after FNAF has come out or around the same time, we're getting improvements to the anti-slugging, improvements to anti-tunneling, improvements to the anti-camp, a matchmaking system update, map and key item balancing, which we all know are the weakest items in the game right now, and then as well as keyboard and mouse support on console, custom game improvements, which would be great for the more competitive side of the community, accessibility improvements, which I'm a huge advocate for, prestige rewards, which my best guess, prestige rewards will most likely be the legacy skins either coming back or just reskin in their entirety, and most likely launching with the FNAF chapter to promote people who are coming from FNAF to grind out the game, as well as reduced login steps, which I don't actually know what that means. It might just be that they're removing the trailer at the start of whenever you launch the game. I don't actually know. But this is where we get into the fun part about just talking and guessing what all of this means, but they have a little bit more descriptors down below. So normally the PTB releases this week, which they have announced, but they have decided to delay it by a few weeks, which means that this Rift got extended, the next event, Blood Moon, got extended, things like that are going to be delayed by a little bit, but that's not a huge deal. I think everything supposedly got delayed by 2 weeks. The next chapter is set to hit live servers, I believe, on April 2nd, which means that we'll get the PTB about midway through March. This probably means, I assume they delayed it because of 2v8 and because they wanted to line up the FNAF chapter with the Secret of the Mimic release for the FNAF series in and of itself. But now I guess it is actually to accommodate all of these features, which is quite nice. Sadly, they don't go into anything about Phase 2, so because of that, I'm going to talk about it first. The anti-tunneling system, I honestly think is fine. I don't really know how they could buff that without majorly changing how the game works. But I will say if they're going to buff anti-tunnel, they also need to make becoming fully healed a conspicuous action. Nothing annoys me more than playing well and getting down so fast and not tunneling, chasing a fully healed survivor, and then hitting off the record or DS anyway. It's an incredibly aggravating system, and it happens to me a lot because of how I play Huntress specifically. The anti-camping meter, I could honestly see getting a little bit buffed, most likely to accommodate for ranged killers or killers camping from far away, still making it to where you can't get the unhook, but hopefully it doesn't become something abusable. MMR is a bad system that needs to just get removed for ranks, so not really happy that that's still getting updated. I'd like if it just got removed. Anti-slugging is going to be in Phase 1, so we'll cover that then. The map and key item rebalancing, I actually don't know how they'll change. I personally want old hatch logic to come back, which means that it'd be the amount of survivors alive plus 1 for generators need to be repaired for the hatch to spawn in the game. Because the way that keys currently work is that keys open up the hatch, and then it automatically closes behind that one survivor. So, personally, I'd really like if they just brought the old hatch logic back, because then keys get mega buffed, and then it's still not a big deal for killers, because hatch counts as a null in terms of escaping. The maps become a bit weirder in terms of how they're going to be balanced, because I personally have no idea. I don't personally use maps. I feel like no one really uses maps, unless they start tracking, like, the killer and things like that, or, like, tiles for you to see. Or if it's something that's like you can now see everything at all times, I honestly don't know what they're gonna do. I'd rather they just add new items instead of trying to adjusting maps, because I feel like maps do their job, but I'm not really sure what else they can do. Keyboard and mouse improvement's going to be huge for console. I don't play on that, so I'm not really going to cover it, but huge W for those people. Custom game improvements. The main thing that I want is a free cam, as well as the ability to have multiple spectators in a lobby. I'm sure at least if you are in the content scene, you have watched a tournament or two and you know that the custom game really needs better spectator controls to make it easier for everyone to understand what's going on. Because currently everyone just watches the killer POV with the occasional tab over through the 4 survivors to see what's happening. The accessibility improvements is a huge one for me. Currently, the record for accessibility in this game is 1 accessibility feature every 4 years that actively works. This includes the FOV slider with Alan Wake, as well as the terror radius visual that you get, which is something that I personally use for stream because I listen to music and everything. There is the colorblind system that, to my knowledge, most people don't find works well for them. So I'm really hoping that's the main part of the accessibility improvements that they want to add. There's also minor things that affect some people and not everybody. Colorblind is a more global issue that needs to be added, such as oversensitivity to sounds. For instance, I can't face Doctor more than twice in a row without getting major migraines. I get the same thing from 2v8 games with the aura reveal sound that they still haven't removed, and it's one of the many reasons I don't like 2v8 as a game mode. But hopefully it's things like that. There's other things such as Plague's Puke causing accessibility issues. Dredge's Nightfall can trigger PTSD. Coughing from Nemesis. Personally, screams are really annoying, and I would love the option to turn those off, so I would hope that just becomes an option. That shouldn't really be, that one seems more like an audio toggle though, and probably wouldn't be under accessibility improvements. Prestige rewards is something I'm really excited to talk about. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I'm going to assume it is just Legacy coming back. If it's not just Legacy coming back, then ooh, that's fine. But I'm going to assume it's that and then adding it for every character that they can. Keep in mind, I'm going to assume this will release with FNAF to encourage those players to grind out their favorite FNAF character to P100 to get some fancy cosmetics that they think look really cool. That being said, I do think that every licensed character will not be getting a legacy or prestige rewards. For instance, Pinhead is in a very heavy state with his license due to the license holders trying to push NFTs during his release, as well as Freddy is currently in license hell. And I know the Halloween DLC also has issues with getting cosmetics. Then there's also Stranger Things, which Netflix actually only added because we bothered them so hard into adding it back into the game. So all the characters from those licenses most likely won't be receiving any prestige rewards. I apologize to people who play those characters, but let's give props. This is the problem of having licensed content, is when you want to add things like this. It does mean most licenses going forward would still have cosmetics, but all the older ones might have some issues receiving them. If you main these characters, again, this is going to be a huge loss for you, and I'm sure Behavior apologizes and will be working to eventually get those characters skins. Personally, I have a P100 demo who most likely won't be receiving anything, and I'd rather have it to where some characters, if not most characters, can get skins for prestiges than none at all. And then I don't know what reduced login steps are, so I'm just going to skip over that one because I have no idea what that means. Now, though, we get to go into the April to June part, which they actually go into a bit more depth over, probably because it is almost done to completion. The first one is going to be the surrender stage. The surrender state is something that people commonly complain about, where a match seems like it's already over and then they're just waiting for the game to end, and it's really, really boring when you could go next just a little bit faster. So currently, it seems there's only 2 ways that they have where people can trigger the surrender option, which is all survivors have been slugged on the ground and all survivors are bots, for survivor and killer respectively. Now, as killer, literally the day before that I'm recording this, I had 4 people DC against my Huntress, even though they chose a map, they used the map offering and a shack offering for hatch and everything. All 4 of them just DC'd, because I got it down slightly too fast. And then I'm forced to play out the round, and I can't DC because then I also get a penalty. So that's going to be amazing that now I can just go next after 4 people give up like that. As for the all remaining survivors have been slugged, I think that one's going to be a bit more It's going to be better for the casual player who does just want to go next. However, there is something that I do want to raise the concern about, is that they are going to add an anti-slugging system. So I'm not sure if that's going to stay or be as common as it is. Because right now, if people don't bring Unbreakable, it is going to be a problem. It is a problem that people just don't want to go against. But if they're going to add Unbreakable base kit or something similar for the anti-slugging system, then it just seems weird that they would do that. But once either instance occurs, you can surrender, ending the trial while keeping blood points and not getting a DC penalty, which is amazing to me, especially if they start raising the DC penalty after this is implemented. The second thing that is really cool is that they're finally adding gamma adjustments. I know for me personally, Coldwind has become way too bright of a map, and then I know on console, due to TV glare and just how TVs are, some maps are much darker than they should be. This also means that any person from now on, once that's added, who complains about filters, no longer has anything to stand on, because most of the complaints about filters is that you can adjust the gamma when it's not a built-in setting, and now that they're adding that, what are you going to complain about? You're gonna complain about filters that people have to use to play the game if they're colorblind because there's no colorblind accessibility settings? Because they're adding this before they're adding better colorblind accessibility. Seems interesting. Otherwise, this is another part that's really important for me specifically, is this go next prevention. As a person who mains Huntress, who is the most common killer in the game, or at least always in the top 3, and as a killer that has been in the game so long, people quickly learn if they like facing her or not. I get a lot of people who go next, especially during the first 2 editions of 2v, where they were the most common killer. A lot of people then loaded into 1v4, saw Huntress, and went, I'm good. And it's really annoying to me. But this is a really interesting idea that they have, where to disincentivize and properly penalize this behavior, we'll be implementing measures that will help us identify when a player is attempting to go next. How they're going to do that successfully, they're going to closely monitor, which is very concerning. But once identified, they'll receive a disconnection penalty point, which is, I guess, just like the normal DC penalty. I guess that's what they call it in-house, which is interesting, and lose an entire grade. Which I don't think, personally, that the 4,000 hour P100 Nancy Wheeler player who gives up on First Hook because they only play Survivor for 4K hours cares about grades. I don't personally think they care about that. Maybe they will closer to rank reset, but during like the first few, I'm not sure if they'll mind. I'd rather see a penalty, unless they're changing how the disconnection penalty works, to blood point gain. Make it to where if you get targeted and seen as someone who's trying to go next, quote unquote, you receive a 100% negative BP score. So it'd basically be like the matchmaking incentive, but minus 100% BP instead of times 100% BP. But this is something that they do go into for rewarding people for sticking through. With a new emblem-based multiplier that grants additional blood points during your following match, with the bonus stacking over consecutive trials, which means longer play stations are going to be really good if you're playing this game. Personally, I have those because as a streamer, I play for very lengthy amounts of time, sometimes over 6 hours. So this next one is the extreme hiding and body blocking prevention. I actually had, again, this issue last stream. I had a Bill and a Meg, both of them were running Adept, and they sent me to the game, who, when they were the last 2 alive through a series of unfortunate events, they hid for 15 minutes, not touching a gen, just hiding in the corner. Eventually I found them because of the tunnel walking system, because I was playing Xenomorph. Now they're doing it to where they're going to update AFK crows to make them, I guess, trigger if you're actively not doing any objective, so they can correctly identify when a player is not doing anything. And then their location is immediately revealed to the killer, I'm guessing based off 1 crow. This also is a system where if you get 3 crows, you no longer have collision, which is really good for when a killer locks you in a corner and you can't do anything. I know that's a common issue that a lot of people seem to get. I don't really get it myself, but I know some people do. The major thing, though, that I'm sure every player will appreciate, unless you're someone who uses them, is that map offerings are finally, after so long, getting nerfed. It's been a very long time. of them kind of ruining the game, making it into a system where people would just choose a map and you kind of just be screwed over. Really, really nice to see it added. Map offerings will no longer guarantee a map. It is only going to increase the chances by 20%, which means that, honestly, I feel like you're more likely to not get a map anymore, and they don't stack. So it's not like 4 people can bring it and then get an 80% chance of getting a map. It just no longer has that percentage. Now, granted, this is where it gets really interesting, because if you have 5 people in the lobby, and none of them went to Area of Crows last game, but they went to like Autohaven, Coldwind, Macmillan, and maps and Badham, and that's with a lot of variants. This can in turn make map offerings still basically 100% guarantee Erie. But then you're playing on the off chance that people didn't do that last game, or that no one got that map last game, and it's going to be a very, very interesting system to try working around. This does also say that map offerings and several other types will remain a secret during load-in, kind of like how Mori's and Shrouds work, which is bad, but also good, because it does mean that the map offerings are getting nerfed, but they're also getting buffed, but then I can't dodge Scratch Mirror anymore, which, video going up next Saturday, because I'm putting this one out first because it's new news, where I hate Scratch Mirror a lot, and I explain why in that video, but that is why I got mixed opinions, because map offerings are still boring, but they're nerfing it, so you have to wait till you experience it to see how likely they are to work. But if I see a secret offering and then I load in on RPD, and then there's a Leon Kennedy in my lobby, default cosmetic, I'm assuming he sent me there, and I'm probably gonna tunnel him, and I'm not gonna be sorry. They're also adjusting spawn rules of survivors so that they spawn closer to each other, because there is a huge problem of survivors spawning far apart, which makes the killer lose pressure immediately in a lobby, just based off that alone, so that's good. They're also improving AFK bot detection, because some people queue up into games just to farm XP, for whatever reason, I don't understand it. I'm Devotion 50, so this will be nice. I also hope that once this goes through, they update Devotion to do something. I have a video on that that's multiple years old, so ignore how different I sound and the fact that the editing is awful in comparison. Bulk blood point spending, which I am hoping comes before Blood Moon hits. For those that don't know, Blood Moon event is the quote-unquote blood point event of the year, where you are supposed to get the most BP. Anniversary is better because the offering becoming year-round, but for the sake of limited time game mode, Blood Moon is better for that regard. I really hope that comes out before then. But this is where we get into the most exciting part for me outside of the, honestly, this is all really exciting, so it's hard to pick a favorite part, which is the quest system will finally be coming, which is a larger update to the Archives and Rift updates. I'm going to imagine they're going to make the first few tomes easier. For instance, I think there's one where it's finish repairing 4 generators in 1 trial with Dark Sense. There's only 5 gens that get done in a game, so... Yeah, it's probably good that that one's gonna get changed, right? But then they're also going to be changing dailies and working on, reworking the challenges from them, which reduce the grind, make it easier to earn rewards, and increase the overall level of fun. I'm excited for the daily rework. However, I would like if they added a milestone system for characters as well on top of this, where the milestone system just gives you bonus blood points for reaching a milestone on that killer, such as like 20 Moris or like 100 sacrifices, or using their power at X amount of times, stuff like that. It would encourage me to play a lot of other killers that I don't normally play, such as Doctor, who is my worst killer because I hate all the screams that he causes. So it'd be really nice to have a reason to play him and get a reward for doing so, whether it be just blood points or some kind of minor cosmetic like a badge or a banner. That's a system I've been voting for a while. I feel like most players would benefit from that. It would also encourage a lot more survivor variety, because like all the survivors would have the same milestones, but it also gives you a reason to level up Gabriel, who no one plays, and then you might find out that you actually like his aesthetic and cosmetics that you earned through the Rift. And then the last thing is the perk loadout and preview, which is going to have very, very mixed results. And I know people are going to be excited, and I also know people are going to hate it. first reason you are probably going to hate the perk loadout menu is if you are someone who does not run pure meta, and you're instead someone who runs a little bit more like, I don't know, Left Behind or Soul Survivor. If you get the P100 Nancy in your lobby, they're going to see you and then dodge the lobby, which is going to make your queue times 10 times longer. And if you're trying to do a rift challenge where those kind of stuff are promoted to be used, you're kind of just screwed over, which isn't a good thing at all. It also is going to encourage people to be a bit more meta defining, but I do hope this also leads into people seeing someone has deliverance and letting them get an unhook for the deli to come into impact later, which is going to make as killer matches feel a little bit more sweaty, or at least more impactful as certain perks trigger repeatedly over and over and over again. I'd be interested to see how that's actually implemented, whether it's just highlights above the head or you have to hit a button for it, but it should be interesting. They're also adding more preset slots if you like to have multiple different perk loadouts. I could honestly see people last second swapping their build to something more ratty and not meta defining so that the Nancy can't dodge without a penalty. And I think that's going to be interesting. That being said, this is towards the end of the video. All of these changes are stuff people have been asking for since probably day one. And I think the fact that since Five Nights at Freddy's is coming this year, which is going to be the largest player increase this game will ever see for the rest of time, as well as just in general, I'm really happy that is stoking a fire under their feet to implement a lot of quality of life changes. And I'm more excited for the later half due to the prestige rewards. I have 8 P100s working on my 9th, who is Clown. I do a fun little contest for who my next P100 is on Twitch, if you want to go follow on there as well. But prestige and accessibility improvements are a huge benefit to me. I'm really excited. I want to make that clear. I'm super excited for all of this. I'm really excited for a more in-depth look for during next PTB, depending on whatever comes out during the next PTB. However, I don't want to get too excited until I see this stuff implemented in the actual video game, because this is where we enter the problem of behavior, like changing things or silently canceling stuff, like the early game collapse. Thing is that most of this, like, judging the phase 1 stuff seems mostly done. Based on how they described it and everything, it seems mostly done, which means that a decent portion of it should be arriving next PTB, which is also going to have a paragraph killer. And then after that paragraph is a survivor paragraph, who is rumored to be LGBTQ+ because of how it sets up with Pride Month and everything. And then after that is the FNAF anniversary, or at least what everyone is assuming is going to be FNAF, because when else would release during anniversary this year? So, yeah. I'm excited. Good stuff, but keep expectations low until it's actually in-game. You never know what will actually happen behind the scenes. Anyway, see you guys on the next one. I'd love to continue this discussion in the comments if people actually want to talk about it, but yeah, it's good stuff. Bye.